We had just gotten back after winter break. It was our first day back, and my students were a little bit unmotivated, and so I decided to go during lunch and get some candy. I walked out of the restaurant where I picked up my lunch, and I'd already been to the store, so I had a bag of stuff in my hands, and I was getting my keys out, and there was a man standing about, I don't know, 20 feet from my car, and he came up and said, "Do you know how to get to this location?" I think it was like Sugar Creek Road. "Do you know how to get there?" And I said, "No. I'm sorry," but very politely, because that didn't bother me. I thought, he just wants directions. And I kept on walking to my car. I really didn't feel that threatened. He looked like someone's fat, middle-aged, white, kind of creepy but not threatening uncle, just this fat old guy. And then he got a little bit closer, and he said, "I really need to get to this place. Can you take me? I'll give you $20. And I said, "No, I'm a teacher in that school. I have to go back to school. It's really important, but I'm sorry, I'm sure you'll find a ride. There's a bus station over there, And he was like, "What if I give you $50? And he's getting closer this whole time, and I'm saying, "Okay, I don't know, I can't help you. I'm really sorry. I really have to go back to school." And I turned around to get in my car, and he says, "Wait." And then he opened his jacket, and he had kind of right under his jacket, I guess kind of hiding in his jacket, he had a gun, and it was pointed at me. He said, "Get in the car," and as he's pointing this gun at me, he reaches around my driver's side door, which I had already opened, to unlock the passenger side door and pulls the door open. He says, "You get in the car," and he motioned with the gun. He said, "I really don't want to have to shoot you, but I will." Right after he pulled the gun on me, he said, "I need you to drive me." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do whatever, just don't shoot me." The first few minutes in the car, I was convinced I'm going to die. I just thought of all the people I hadn't talked to, of all the things I hadn't done, of just all the people that, I never said, "Hey, you're really important to me." I thought, when was the last time I talked to my mom? I don't remember, But he said, "Get on the road." And I was shaking so bad, and he said, "Do not get pulled over or I will shoot you." And I was going, I can't drive. I'm thinking, do I try and crash into someone at first? I'm thinking, do I try and wreck the car? Do I try and see if I can wreck it hard enough to hurt him? Do I take a chance and drive? My feet were shaking so bad. I thought he's gonna take me to some hotel and he's going to do whatever he wants to me and then he's gonna kill me. We're driving down the highway and he points to a motel and he says, "Stop there, that's good." And he said, "We're gonna go together to the front desk. We're going to check in. You're gonna rent me a room for a night." And he said to me at this point, very clearly, "If the police are involved, I have just gotten out of prison. I am not going back. I will shoot you. I will shoot them. I will shoot everyone. I will get killed. I don't care. I am not going back to prison." I was so nervous that they were going to notice that this guy had a gun. And then on the other hand, I was also kind of thinking, do I try and signal that he has a gun? I mean, is this my chance? Am I missing my chance? If I don't say something now, is it going to be too late? So we're going into this hotel room, and he opens the door and he kind of motions me in with the gun. As I'm going in the door of the hotel room, I thought, right before I went in, I thought, do I run? And I thought, what if I try and run and I don't make it? He catches me. Then he's going to be angry, and he's going to think I want to run, which I thought is bad. I want him to think everything's cool, I'm going to help him out. I just didn't want him to shoot me. He's kind of started telling me, I'm running from the police. I think the police are after me. And so, he says, "We need to wait this out. We'll just sit here for a couple hours, and I'll call a friend of mine, and then he's going to pick me up. You're going to go in the bathroom. I'm going to lock you in there. We're going to drive off, and it's going to be fine." And I thought, okay, I can do that. I'm still thinking he's going to shoot me. In the back of my head, I really thought, he's not just going to drive off. He's going to shoot me. So I'm waiting. I'm thinking, this time is going to roll around, and it was 4 o'clock. It was going to happen. This guy was going to call. They were going to come pick him up. So 4 o'clock happens. This guy calls. He says, "No, I'm not coming to get you." And he looks at me and he goes, well, I can't let you go now because I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. I started to cry. And I said, you're never gonna let me go. I really wanna go home. He got really upset and he started waving the gun around and he said, oh, I'm gonna shoot you. You need to stop this. You need to stop this right now. He pulls out of his pocket this pipe. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I don't know what that is. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm just gonna smoke a little crack. It will calm me down. And obviously, he was already kind of panicky, and me panicking was really bad. And so he starts waving the gun around. He said, well, I'm gonna have to kill you if you can't help me, if you can't stay calm, then I'm gonna have to shoot you. And I was like, okay, what can I do so that you can trust me? What can I do to prove to you that you can trust me? Because I want to get out of this situation. I don't want you to kill me. I wanted him to not just see me as something expendable, as someone he could just kill or hurt. I wanted him to see me as a person, as his friend. And he looks at me and he said, all right, well, if you smoke this crack, I'll believe that you're not going to tell on me. And I was like, I can't do that. And he sat right next to me and he pointed the gun at me and he said, if you don't smoke this, I'm going to kill you. And he forced me to smoke crack. After he forced me to smoke crack, he had these beers and he said, have a beer with me. And I thought, at this point, I want him to believe that I'm on his side, so I'll have a beer with him. I'm gonna be his best friend. And if I convince him that I'm on his side, then he'll let me go. Or I'll figure a way out of this. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, he decides that he needs more drugs. And he says, this is okay, right? We're gonna go get more drugs, we're gonna have a party. And I'm going, oh my God, I have to go to a crack house. I'm having, a panic attack about this. Oh my God, I can't be in this neighborhood. If we're driving around this neighborhood, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. What if the police pull us over? He said, if the police show up, you need to be really sure about this. I'm gonna use you as a human shield and I am going to go down shooting. I don't care. Eventually, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and there are no more drugs. And he kind of sobers down a little bit, and he looks at me and he says, I have to get out of the state of North Carolina, because what I'm wanted for is a state crime, and I have to leave the state. If I leave the state, they won't be looking for me, it's fine. So I said, why don't you take my car? Why don't you just take my car? I won't report it stolen. I'm on your side. I've already done illegal things, so you have to know I'm not gonna tell on you. So you take my car. And then he says, you'd do that for me? You would, he looks at me and he said, you like me that much? And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I don't like you, I just want to get out of here. But he was just like, and that was really then he really said, okay, now I trust you. If I can get him to stay in the car at the bank, if I can get him to stay in the car and I can get him to trust me enough to let me go in by myself, and he won't be able to get me before I can tell somebody what's going on. And so we get to the bank. I said, here are the keys. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go in the building. And I really thought, at this point, he's gonna shoot me. He's gonna realize, he has to know that no one is this stupid. And I walk into the bank, and that was the hardest, maybe 20 yards, and it was the hardest 20 yards I've ever walked in my whole life. And I went into the first office that I saw. It was on my right, the first office on my right. And I said, there's a guy in my car in the parking lot. I've just been kidnapped. I've been held hostage. You need to call the police. He has a gun. And so the police came into the parking lot, and apparently they tased him before he could shoot them. I survived because I convinced him that I was a person. I think that's the main thing. I said, okay, I'm gonna come up with a way for us to get out of this situation. And I believed that I could do it. Once I believed that I could do it, it worked.